Hi. This is my first live that I've done in a while. And so today, I hope that I give y'all an opportunity to learn a little bit more about dishonesty and the impact to the relationship. So let me go ahead and see if I can pull up my lovely, let's see, Canva presentation, I guess is what I'm looking for. All right. I think that's it right here. Okay. All right, let me go back in here. Let me get a share. We'll do this one. Okay. All right. Am I going to get my picture on here too? I don't know. Okay. All right. Oh, yay. Okay, here we go. All right. If there's anybody in this room, please put a thumbs up or something to let me know that you're there. I can already see I'm going to have to cut back on some of this stuff. Let's see, Canva. There we go. Yay, Karen. All right. Hello. All right. Pretty sure I'm not going to get this exactly the way I need to, but I went ahead and put together a PowerPoint. Not exactly sure if y'all will be able to see the next pages, but at least I have some guidelines for me to be able to, read through. The main reason I wanted to go ahead and do this presentation had to do with the fact that probably the first thing that I hear for a lot of people that come into my office is, how can he or she stop lying? Or maybe the person themselves will come in and say, I'm lying all the time. Um, so that's one of the things that becomes like the initial piece for people to come in, and it's a struggle for the maybe the first couple of months. So I wanted to be able to kind of identify some things. um, I guess when we talk about relationships, normally I like to talk about the building blocks of intimacy and connection in a relationship. And those kinds of building blocks actually get knocked down and aren't, it doesn't promote any type of intimacy within the relationship. So, one of the things that is at the base of the intimacy pyramid is truth and honesty. And that means that lying needs to actually be removed from the equation. And by lying, that means anything that has to do with secret keeping, to allow you to continue to act out if you have difficulties with using pornography or getting on date lines. It could mean that you are also um, It could also mean that you're using, other kinds of apps like OnlyFans and, that type of thing where you're paying somebody. Maybe you're using, going off to, strip clubs or massage parlors, etcetera. There's a whole list. So, anyway, that's the point that most people are coming into me for, is those things that I listed. And so I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about why lying matters. The reason that lying is an important factor in clearing it up in order to rebuild the relationship has to do with rebuilding connections, and this is not only connection with your partner. This is actually connection with yourself, because a lot of times when you're not telling the truth, if you've been lying for a really long time, it is hard for you to be able to stop lying. I've had people say, I lie about the smallest little things and it makes no sense to me. And I just want to emphasize that that is, um, that's a commonality. In fact, later I'll be talking about it as it's actually a form of addiction for some people. They do it so much and so often that their reality is distorted. And it makes it really difficult for you to really understand yourself. If if you are changing reality all the time, you're not really going to be able to get what you need as far as asking people for support or even doing the things that you need to do. I've had some people that don't even know that they get angry. And so they need to be able to understand or recognize that. And one of the things that I saw recently was a person that went to his partner and said, I really need you to give me feedback on when I am getting agitated or possibly getting angry. And the reason that he did that was because he says, I can't even tell when that happens. And so it's that ability to look inside and assess yourself and see where you're going and how do you fix some of the things that you need to fix. So for him, it was anger, and that was truth with self. So other times I have had people that have lived two separate lives. They have their life where they do all their acting out, and then they have their life where they're actually um, connected in with their family. The problem with that is that this whole other life is actually just this secret that impacts the relationship with the people on the other side, which is the family or the partner. So, okay, let's see here. Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and just talk a little bit about why people lie. When I've worked with people before, the main part of healing has to do with going back in your past and trying to understand why this has become one of your tools to use at all times. So I used to sit and I had my first client that I had ever had. He came in because he was using porn, but one of the things that he did was sit down on my couch and say, "I'm a liar, Cheryl. I've been a liar. I always will be a liar. There's just no changing me." And I remember thinking that's really such a sad comment about who you are and who your life is. It's a behavior and it needs to change, and it can't be viewed as this is how I am and I always will be. There's another opportunity to change from the lying part to moving towards being more honest and being more present in the relationship. So when it comes to lying, the common childhood roots, one of them is fear of punishment. I don't know if you remember times, maybe I'm the only one, when you did something and you thought, oh my gosh, I'm actually going to be spanked for this, or I'm going to get a consequence. In this day and age, for children, when they're learning to lie, it's because they're fearing that you're going to take away their social media or take away they're gaming. And so they have a 50-50 chance of being believed, right? So if they tell you they didn't do it and you say okay, they didn't do it, then they get away with it and they continue to hold all their things that they find valuable. They get to continue to use them. But the other side of that is if they get caught, then they actually get punished in some way, shape, or form. And truthfully, we don't actually ever want to have negative consequences. We'll do what we can to move away from that. So that fear factor. Um, Desire for approval, that would be another reason that someone would choose to lie starting from childhood. If you felt like you were the child that nobody paid attention to, that your siblings got more attention, your classmates got more attention, it's that factor that makes people say, maybe if I say I did certain things, then people would notice me and start saying, "Wow, this was really great. You're a wonderful person. You're a great person," and it builds self-esteem. I was talking to someone earlier, and one of the things that he struggles with, that's another piece of addiction, has to do with his need for approval, because he was growing up in a family where you couldn't do anything right, which is a hard load to carry for a child. And when you look at 0 to 18, you start thinking about, are you really able to do anything about something like that? If your family has rules or gives consequences, you just have to accept that and move on. So the next reason that a child might pick up lying is what you're seeing around you, what behaviors are being modeled. If you have a parent that's leading a secret lifestyle, and now you're leading a secret lifestyle, that's one of those, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. When kids figure these kinds of things out, they either make choices to say, I'll never ever do anything like this again, or they'll say, well, it's easily blown over. Dad and mom are still divorced, or and still together. So it's important for you to realize that if you're the person struggling with lying, what are you modeling for your children? And if you're modeling this for your children, you may say, well, I just tell them not to do that, and that's in the present, but that's not necessarily what's going to happen. It makes an imprint on this person, like emotionally, mentally. It gets stored away as a memory, and they might not realize it, but it can be replayed in their own lives. So I want to emphasize, role modeling truth is super important. And then the fourth root cause in childhood has to do with protecting your self-esteem. So as a child, if you feel that you're, I don't know, what would be an example of low self-esteem in a child that they would want to lie about? I guess if you were the child that wanted lots and lots of attention, and you created a lot of opportunities for yourself to shine, um, it would look like you're real confident, but in truth, you're not. So that's the paradox there, right? You look like you're the most uh, self-confident person around, and yet deep down internally, you're struggling with how you show up. So, okay, we're going to go on to the next slide. The next one is, why do people lie? Let's see if I can find a place to prop this up. Okay, so why do people lie? And so this is mostly directed towards adults, right? So adult motivators include avoiding conflict. um, if you're in a relationship that's been struggling, and there's difficulties, you know, in order to avoid conflict, you will just say whatever needs to happen, or not say anything at all and walk away, because you're avoiding conflict. Like, that is my huge internal life message from my young childhood, is, that I don't want to see or hear conflict. Strangely enough, I am a couple counselor, and I do hear a lot of conflict. But I have actually learned to step outside of that, and to actually listen to what the problem is. And that's actually, what you need to do, as couples, is to try to step outside of whatever the disagreement's about, and try and think, how how did this problem start? What is the possible solutions for this problem? And do we want to activate or initiate any of these things? So another example of, or another reason that people lie, is insecurity. If you feel like you're not good enough, if you feel like you know, all the all the compliments that people give you, you automatically say that's not true. There's other people that will present themselves as if they're, you know, sorry, this is kind of, you know, so insecurity, that means that you're not confident with yourself, right? And so other ways that people might present things is like, say you were a child that went to a party and everybody seemed to have, you know, I don't know, their favorite toy and you didn't. You might want to fit in so badly that you'll say, "I have that toy, but I left it at home." And you do that in the name of trying to fit in with your group. So another way that lies show up in adults is control. If you are wanting to go to some activity and you know that there's certain things that need to happen or be completed before you go, you might actually, you know, present with some kinds of information that makes somebody feel like, oh, okay, well, they can go and do what they need to do. And they just move on from there. And so I think that's, you know, that's also about if you have a partner and you want to make sure that they are under your control, then you tell them whatever you think they might need or want to hear as long as they do what you want. So, trauma, another reason that people lie is because in the past they've been traumatized and they don't know how to be open. They don't know how to share some of the vulnerable parts of themselves. So, they have learned to put up a shell. It's kind of like I had somebody explain that it's like, you know, a an egg and the yolk is inside, and he described how he had so many layers, so many lies in his life, a lot of it having to do with trauma because he was, um, you know, a veteran during the Afghan Iraq wars. He just kept putting more and more layers of lies that of things that that helped protect him, so that people wouldn't really see that he was hurt inside or that he was suicidal or, you know, just a variety of things like that. So trauma might be another reason that someone chooses to act out. Another and lie. Another reason that people lie is actually that it becomes habitual. Like you do it so much that it just slowly stretches out. I've had one man talked to me and he was like, "I don't understand. I've been doing really well in my therapies. I've been going to meetings. I've been doing, you know, I've been doing my journaling." He was doing everything he felt like he needed to do, but one day his wife, you know, you know, asked down the hallway, "Hey, did you throw out the trash?" And he didn't throw out the trash, and she was standing next to it. And but he told her, "Yeah, I threw it out." And he didn't understand why he did that because clearly she could see that the trash was there. But again, this is one of those cases where you know, it was just so habitual to just say, "No, I don't know what you mean," or "Yes, I did that." So and then the last part is the addiction, right? You know, you have to lie to cover up the things that you're doing, whether it's drinking. You know, how many of y'all see those videos with the drinking and driving? Police officers pull them aside. Have you been drinking? The automatic answer is no, no, sir. And then they have to do all their tests and stuff like that. But it's the cover up. Anything that you can do to prevent anyone from seeing what it is that you're doing. Dr. Omar Minwala is one of the people that I have trained up under, and I have a certification with him. His specialty is deceptive sexual trauma. And, you know, one of the ways that he you know, uses a metaphor for people to understand what cheating and lying does in the relationship is to think of it as you've built this relationship with your family, right? And everything looks up and up and everything looks good and we're the perfect family or we're the family that enjoys each other and everything is relaxed and calm. But truthfully, what's happening is there's a partner that's holding secrets and putting them down in the basement. And so he calls that secret sexual basement. The problem is that when you stuff things inside and stuff things inside, eventually someone is going to get caught, and it's the partner that thinks everything is wonderful, and they go and they open up the door to the basement, and they look down there and they're like, what is all of this stuff? Things that make them feel unsafe, things that make them feel like they're not in reality, just all kinds of things hit a partner when they realize that there's been a lot of secret keeping and lies in the relationship. So, okay, and let's see, do we go to the next one? All right. So now we're going to go into what are the types of lying. One of the types of lying is denial. Did you take that trash out? You didn't tell me to take the trash out. Another one is omission. You're waiting at home for your spouse, and he comes in an hour late for dinner. And when you ask him, where was he? He'll say, well, I I told you I was going to um, the doctor's office, or I told you I was going to, stop by the hospital, see my sister, or whatever. Like them providing information and then realizing afterwards, "Oh, I didn't tell you everything." Um, when I did a check-in with a couple recently, I asked 0 to 100%, what percentage of the time did they feel like they were presenting with truth and honesty? And the answer was 90% for the person that has the lying issue. And when he broke it down, it was, like, really clear. I mean, a lot of we all tell different types of lies. His response was that I just don't remember to tell her things, and then she says I didn't tell her things, and then I realized I didn't tell her things. So, that would be one of those examples. The next one is gaslighting. So this one is you don't know what you're seeing. That never happened. I don't know what you're talking about. That works really well with forgetting the past. Um, there's some people that might go through some kind of cheating issue, and then they patch it up and they move on with their relationship, and everything seems like it's doing well. The problem with that is that at some point, the maybe 2 or 3 years later, someone says, "Hey, um, you know, are you cheating again?" And the answer is, again, I never cheated in the first place, because they've rewritten the story in their head. Um, so that would be another example. And then the last one, well, actually, two more. Exaggeration. Let's see. My workload is so huge. I have to stay at work longer. And using that as an excuse so that you can take that time and go and meet an affair partner, or use that time to be able to say, I have to stay longer so that you don't have to go to any of the school events. And that therefore you can go home and you can use pornography, or you can go home and take part in any kind of addiction that you have. So that would be, another form of why people or how people present their lying. So exaggeration. Another presenting of lying is actually also the everyday small lie. Um, this is the white lie, like maybe someone called and your kids are hearing you say, "Hey, I'm sorry I can't go to this birthday party tomorrow. I have to go see my sister in another city." And your kids know that that's not true because you have an appointment for the spa. So it's things like that. You don't tell them the real truth because you don't want to hurt their feelings, but you were looking forward to this, trip to the spa. So, all right, so let me go into the next section. Moving along. So there's consequences for compulsive lying. Um, I think I did that wrong. Okay, consequences. So, first of all, when you're in a relationship, the consequences for lying to your partner is that it's destroying trust. And trust is one of the necessary components for true intimacy in the relationship. If you don't have trust, then you are not 100%. connected and not able to be vulnerable, not feeling safe, not feeling like you have a partner that's empathetic. So destruction of trust. The next consequence for lying is that it promotes a sense of confusion. Like, I thought I knew what was going on, but now I've told so many lies that I can't remember or keep up with the lie. Another consequence of lying is isolation. So, you are so busy with, acting out, and then you lied in order to have that time to act out, that you start getting more and more distant with the people that were part of your network. And so, therefore, you don't have those people when you're in a crisis. So even when there's an issue, like everybody's found out about the acting out, what ends up happening is, let's see, lost my train of thought. Okay. I will probably come back to that. Well, the isolation, you don't have anybody to go to when you need to turn to someone. And during these times when things have happened and the truth comes out, the person that has the behavior concerns and also lies doesn't have anybody that they can go to talk about the lying and the shame and the guilt. So the the next one is loss of intimacy, which I you know hinted at earlier. There's just a lot of components that go into feeling truly close to a partner. And when I talk about intimacy, I'm not just talking about sexual intimacy. I'm talking about emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, spiritual intimacy, financial intimacy. There's all different forms of intimacy, and they all get impacted by the fact that, what if this person's lying to me? So financially, oh, he spent all this money, at clubs. Well, now I have to constantly wonder, is he taking care of our finances or is he spending all our money? So that would be one of those things where financial intimacy would be very hard. Um, Emotional intimacy, it comes down to, um, being able to trust the person that you're a partner with, and when the other person is maybe being abusive or doesn't seem to really care if you're depressed or anxious, that would be one of those areas where you you wouldn't feel like there was an emotional intimacy. And then the next one is long-term psychological harm. I just mentioned, the lies, the difficulties that you're experiencing, and trying to always figure out, is this real or not, is very impactful, because it starts to hijack your brain, right? Because you're hearing the lying all the time. And so you don't know what you need to do in order to sort through the truth. And even if you get to the truth, then you start to question, was that the truth? So it's just like a little hamster wheel, and it doesn't stop. If you are the person that's acted out, it can cause depression for you. If you're telling lies, you carry a burden of knowing that you're not showing up authentically with people, and that you are not able to connect with people because you can't share 100%. So, and then the next one is relationship breakdown. And so, like I said, there's a hamster wheel going of constantly, is he telling the truth? Is he telling the truth? And that can wear the relationship down, and that could lead someone to say, I can't live with this manipulation of reality. And so the relationship breaks down, and people end up separating or actually divorcing. So, and then the last one is also about increased anxiety for the partner and for the person that's acted out. For the person that's acted out, I've seen people like start to have difficulty breathing, start to have the shakes, find it difficult to move on. They get stuck a lot of times. They also get stuck in their own little world, so they're not mentally, physically, emotionally present for you. Physically, they're there, but they're not present for you. So if you're the partner and you're talking to the person that acted out, and you see them going into their own head because they're just anxious or depressed, that would look to you like, well, what are they covering up? So more lies. Okay. And let me see what the next one is. Oh, so another important component to changing the lying pattern is that um, the way it gets done is that there needs to be boundaries or the reestablishment of boundaries. Maybe the boundaries were there, they just weren't followed. So being able to have some limits put in place and some guidelines to be put in place is very helpful. The easiest ones that a lot of couples choose to do, or individuals that are trying to work on their addictions, is they find an accountability partner to be able to talk to about anything that they do not feel very good about. They're experiencing shame and guilt. So, finding an accountability partner, or maybe you are able to talk to your partner. Maybe they're open and available for you to share what's going through your head. Like that, if you came home and you said, I had some problems because I was in the checkout counter and the girl looked like she was flirting with me. And I started thinking, oh, she's flirting. Maybe I can get her phone number. And then you realize, oh, I've started my addiction pattern. That would be one of those things that would be important for boundaries, is to be able to, express also that I need to hear the truth all the time. And then you, as the person that acts out, needs to be able to go and find somebody that you can talk to about the situation. So, other ways that people set boundaries is using Life 360 or the iPhone tracking so that you know where that person is. Highly do not it's illegal nowadays to put hidden trackers on people's vehicles and just in general on another person so you can follow them. This is one of those laws that's come into play because of domestic violence situations. So one of the ways to do protection for people is to pass laws saying that that's not legal. So, but if your partner and you both agree to use Life 360, it's really helpful for a lot of people, and it's not necessarily to micromanage the person that acts out. It's actually a way to help the relationship in terms of giving fact and reality and truth to your partner. So if they feel like you said, I'm going to the gas station, and you actually went to Walmart, all of a sudden they start saying, I wonder where my husband went. He just went to the store for some bread. You look on Life 360 and he's not where he said he was. Now, granted, it's Walmart. It's not that big a deal, but it's a big deal for a person that's been dealing with nothing but lies. So always being mindful of that. I tell people, just text your partner and say, "Hey, I just decided to go to Walmart. Let me know if you need anything." That kind of stuff means more to a partner than a lot of other things, because it's just the reestablishing of reality, that they're not being manipulated, that the communication that's happening between the two of you is authentic. So, um let's see. Some other tools that people use are actually programs that get put on phones or on any kind of technology, so that if there's any inappropriate stuff being watched online, or access to and communication with affair partners, etc., that those things will be captured, and maybe a text message or a picture, depending on what it is that you sign up for, that might go to your partner, and they will have that information. Um, so it's kind of, I had one man tell me that he felt like it was the bumper rails in the bowling alley. Like he knew he needed to stay in the path, in the lane, and roll the bowling ball, but he also knew that if he did stray, there were the sides for him to be able to say, I'm not going to go over into the acting out piece. I really love that analogy. I just never thought about that. Those special things that get put in the side of the bowling alley lanes, so that the ball won't roll into that lane, or will actually stay right in the center and go all the way to the end, hopefully. So, yeah. Let me see what else. Um, I think that's mostly it. The other thing that really helps with truth and honesty when it comes to relationships and the lying factor is to be pretty structured with your lives so that you know ahead of time what's happening or what needs to happen, and that there's not a lot of random changes and shifts. That there's structure to your day to day. So, okay. And last but not least, I just want to let you know that my name is Cheryl Camarillo. I'm a certified sex addiction therapist and a certified sex therapist. I've been working in this field since 2018. If you really want to know more about lying, I can tell you I had the ultimate lie, and then I had an even bigger lie that I manufactured in my head. So, yes, if you're a person that lies, your partner can also start manufacturing alternative realities. And that's why it's so important to start with building truth and honesty in the relationship. So, if you have any questions, please feel free to make a comment. You can actually go on my website. It's CherylCamarillo.com. I'll make sure I put it down in the description. And then I also want to make sure that if you need more support, you can actually, um, send me a contact sheet, and I can do a very short consultation, or possibly another professional will also talk with you. So I just want that to be as an option so that you have a way or a place to be able to say, this is what's going on. I don't even know where to start. And so someone can say, start here. Start by asking your partner to go to meetings, or start by you making sure you're taking care of yourself, and that you're safe. That's the number one priority, right? That you're safe. Second is taking care of yourself. So it's a variety of things like that you might hear in a consultation. But for right now, I have that as an option or available, and you can go to my website and send a contact sheet, or you can, I don't know, I guess you could write a DM, and I'll try to get back with you. Send me a video yourself. It's up to you. So thank you so much. I'm sorry this was kind of a little bit rough, but I ideally hope to be providing more and more of these things because, like I said, I hear so many things in therapy that tell me that people are struggling with questions and they don't have any place to go. And I certainly have heard a lot of different things, and I've certainly problem solved a lot of different things. And I just want to be able to share that. So thank you very much. And, I will put this in the library so people can continue to access this. And I'll probably do the same presentation again next weekend, 2 o'clock. I think that's a good idea. Thanks. Bye.